Top of the SportsMax Zone for this Thursday. The delegates of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, the TTFA, could face some tough decisions this weekend. The delegates have been calling for a set election date as they feel it is time for the FIFA-appointed Normalisation Committee to demit office after almost 3 years of governance. Now, on December 10 last year, the TTFA held an extraordinary general meeting where the majority of the delegates voted for a set date for new elections. 4 voted against and 2 abstained. However, Robert Haddad, chairman of the Normalisation Committee, is warning against any premature disbanding of his committee. This is what Haddad said this week. FIFA expects the TTFA to ensure that the mandate of the Normalisation Committee is carried out and fulfilled in strict compliance with the decision of the Bureau of the FIFA Council, with the last task being the organisation of elections. Therefore, if the TTFA's Normalisation Committee convenes the requested extraordinary general meeting before all tasks assigned to them have been accordingly carried out, this would go against the mandate of the Normalisation Committee established by the Bureau of the FIFA Council. Please be advised, Haddad said, that should the elections be held before all of the tasks are completed, we would be obliged to submit the matter to a relevant decision-making body for further consideration and possible decisions based on the FIFA statutes. Now, in order for the motion to be changed, at least 50% of the membership at the meeting must vote in favour. Now, 50% of the TTFA's 47-member delegates are also required to be at the EGM for there to be a quorum. Lasana Liebert is the managing director and chief editor of Wired868.com. He's been tracking this story for quite some time now, and he joins us to dissect the issues. Well, let me start here before we get into the meat of the matter, Lasana. When the Normalisation Committee was instituted back in March 2020, it was said that the committee would serve for a period not more than 2 years until the assigned tasks have been completed. Now, we're heading for 3 years now. Can you take us through the process that, first of all, an extension was granted with this Normalisation Committee?
Yes, and what we hear from Mr. Haddad right now is almost the reverse of FIFA's position. FIFA's initial position was the Normalisation Committee will demit office as soon as it fulfills its task,
yes,
or no later than this date, X date, which would have been March 2022 at the time.
Yes.
Right?
24 months. The FIFA document actually said 24 months, which, as we know, is 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, right, exactly. So no later than, and we have seen that changed already once, and I think the problem really came in with the TTFA members being concerned that maybe another extension is on the way, simply because, as we all know, as Mr. Haddad himself would say, the Normalisation Committee simply has not done its task, and not close at all to completing its task in time for March. And I think there's just a lack of confidence that they will get it done.
Yeah. Let me ask you this as well, because I've said on this show several times that June 2019 was the last time Trinidad and Tobago had a 2-digit world ranking, which means that the June 2019 would have been the last time they have been ranked inside the top 100, which is not, characteristic of Trinidad and Tobago's standing in world football, far more the Caribbean, where you've been 8-time champions. I haven't been to TT, Lasana, in about 5 years or so I don't have my pulse on the TNT football public. What are they saying about what's happening with football in the country?
Definitely very despondent, right? Very, very despondent. There hasn't been any real top-flight domestic football since March 2020, over 2 years now. As we probably know, the attendances have been dwindling for some time. I would say probably over the last maybe 8 years or something like that, the attendances have been going down. The national teams, as we know, have not been performing anything close to the level that fans are accustomed to. And, of course, the normalization business just split. Split people across the 2 islands with some persons, not willing to accept FIFA coming in at all. Whereas, of course, some hope that things would be a lot better now. And I think one thing that everybody agrees on is that things are not noticeably better at all.
Yeah, Robert Haddad has essentially said it would not be wise at this stage for the Normalisation Committee to demit office, for there to be a new executive. If the tasks given by FIFA almost 3 years ago are not completed, last on that list would be elections. Can you give us an idea from your standpoint, having tracked this story, what are the tasks, if any, that this Normalisation Committee would have completed over the close to 3-year period that they have been governing the TTFA?
The task would be the day-to-day running of Trinidad and Tobago football. It's been not much happening, I could say, I think is one way of putting it. The other would be clearing the debt, right? Or let's say addressing the TTFA's debt and also improving the financial structure of the TTFA, right? Now, last year, they brought in a trustee to handle the matter of the debt. And I think a lot of people are reasonably satisfied with the direction that they went in, that the TTFA has gone in terms of dealing with the debt. But I would say absolutely, pretty much nothing has been done in terms of strengthening or addressing the financial structures of the TTFA. There hasn't been, much structural change that anybody could tell about. And then the third thing would be the constitutional reform. 3 years on, nobody knows exactly what FIFA wanted to change in the first place where the constitution was concerned. Mr. Haddad hasn't intimated anything. And there hasn't been a single meeting, not one meeting in 3 years to address whatever issues there may or may not be in the constitution.
So I'm picking up from what you're saying. Would you say then that from your standpoint, you would give a failing grade to the Normalisation Committee in the period that they have governed Trinidad and Tobago's football?
Well, don't even take my word for it. Take FIFA's word for it, because that's what FIFA said just over a year ago. FIFA said the Normalisation Committee has not completed its task. The difference is that FIFA then said, let's give them an extra year, right? And now, again, the people on the ground here, I don't know if the FIFA officials are losing any sleep over the issue in Trinidad and Tobago football, but it definitely hurts the stakeholders here. And just simply out of fear that we are going to remain in limbo indefinitely, the members said, listen, just leave it to us, let us call our own, have our own elections, have a president, and let us try to solve this, because we simply do not see anything happening under normalization. And FIFA isn't willing to allow that for whatever reason. Now, there have been cases under normalization in other countries where FIFA has changed the normalization committee. Haiti would be one example. Pakistan would be another, where they simply remove the members and put someone else in. To be honest, I think if they did that, the stakeholders, may be more willing to see if it leads to an improvement, but FIFA hasn't done either. They have, insisted so far that Haddad stays, and I don't think anybody is really is happy with that here.
Yeah, and you've sort of gone exactly where I want to go, Lasana, because have you sort of envisaged what might happen if FIFA says to Robert Haddad, we will give you an extension? And I looked at the release and what Robert Haddad has said, and it seems to me that he might be setting himself up for an extension of leading this Normalisation Committee. What do you think would happen in Trinidad and Tobago's football? What would be the response of the delegates? How would they react if that ends up being the case and an extension is given? Another extension, mind you.
Well, I think on Saturday at the EGM, you're going to have the TTFA members voting to reverse the motion to move Haddad and call an election. I think that is going to happen this weekend, right? But they do that in the face of a FIFA threat of suspension. 18 of 23 members, the majority, wanted Haddad gone. And that isn't really going to change. That is pretty emphatic. The members do not want Haddad. The members also do not want to be suspended from FIFA. And that's where they are sort of caught in the middle. You know, trying to make the best out of a bad situation, let's say.
Is the risk worth taking to remove Robert Haddad if FIFA says extension?
Nothing I've seen so far from the TTFA members would suggest that they are willing to take that risk. And I don't expect that they will, to be honest. I don't see that gumption just yet. But as it is now, we continue pretty much adrift, and we have been adrift since March 2020.
So yeah, because the next question was going to be, where does that leave the delegates if they are not willing to take that risk? And let's say FIFA says Robert Haddad gets another extension, and just based on how I'm reading this situation, I would not be surprised if that is among the announcements from Robert Haddad come Saturday at the EGM. So what happens next? Do you're right back where you were?
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Now, FIFA has a lot of standing committees: finance committee, marketing committee, technical committee, etc. Right? Because Mr. Infantino and his vice presidents don't pretend to know everything about football, and there are people involved in these things. All TTFA committees have been closed, shut down totally ever since Haddad took over. You know, which would mean that Haddad and his two vice presidents have absolute control over almost every single function of the football body. When you look at the complaints coming from members, it almost always starts with lack of consultation, you know, which is that they don't think they've been involved in decisions, they don't know what is happening, why it's happening, and they'd like to have a say, because after all, you know, football belongs to the stakeholders, and in a sense, Haddad is an interloper. He's not, he doesn't come from the bowels of football, so to speak, right? So what you see happening here is football almost belonging to a very, very small club, you know, three gentlemen, and they don't even seem to be running football the way FIFA runs its own business, you know, in terms of how FIFA runs with its standing committees. And it just makes you wonder, you know, how much FIFA really cares about what's happening here.
Yeah, interesting point you brought up, Lasana, about Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, not pretending to know everything. And maybe a situation like this would not yet have gotten directly to his desk. Do you feel that there is anyone within Trinidad and Tobago's football who might have the gumption to push the envelope and try and get it all the way to that level, the very top brass of world football? And would it be worth trying to push the envelope all the way?
Well, thus far, FIFA, by its communications, have shown almost contempt for the TTFA members, in that they never address the TTFA members directly at all. All communication goes through Haddad, and, you know, that's their, you know, they insist on doing business that way. You know, even though one of those members that they refuse to speak to right now is, you know, going to eventually be the TTFA president and going to be the person to, you know, decide who they'd like as FIFA president, you know, let's say. As it is right now, FIFA only recognizes its own employee on the island, you know, and that's Robert Haddad. So in terms of going, let's say, over Haddad's head to Infantino himself, you know, but by all indications, Infantino doesn't care. You know, there's little to suggest that FIFA really cares what's happening here beyond that their guys in charge, and that seems to be, you know, the only thing that matters.
Lasana, in the December elections where the delegates voted in a majority fashion for setting the election date, you had 4 voted against and 2 abstentions. Would that suggest that it is not a 100% consensus that the delegates are opposed to Haddad and his Normalisation Committee?
Well, here I would have to speculate a bit, but what I am hearing is not that those 4 or 5 people are in favor of Haddad's, you know,
tenure,
governance, so to speak. Yeah, those 4 or 5 people are afraid of who may replace Haddad, which is different. You see, so it's a matter of they saying, you know, the devil we know, or they're looking, calculating who they think the person in line to take over would be, and saying that, you know what, we rather stay right here than go to that guy.
Are you thinking something that you aren't saying? from what you just said?
Well,
I'm keen to find out.
Let's say at the last TTFA election,
Yes.
the race would have been between William Wallace, who won.
Yes.
John Williams was second, who was, deposed as president. The third person would be Richard Ferguson. John Williams is now deceased. Wallace is pretty much, I guess, persona non grata in a sense. He's not involved in football anyway. Mr. Ferguson is very much present and, in fact, is buying up land, so to speak. He's spreading his wings, across football. He's a bombastic type guy. He's a bit controversial. And there are some people who, would prefer Haller to Ferguson, let's say.
Okay. I just to be clear, Ferguson was the man behind the recent domestic league that you had there. And didn't that league get
the
Ascension Tournament? Didn't that league, which was shown live on SportsMax, get rave reviews, which would suggest to us that the football public overall may be happy with Ferguson?
The football public is happy with some of his ideas, some of the stuff that he has contributed in that sense. Yes. I think nobody would deny that he is... I like to be careful about saying astute businessman, but he took over at Tim Next Lafayette Rangers, and undoubtedly he has framed an entertaining team. Nights watching football in Lafayette is a lot of fun, and people really enjoy it. They enjoy the tournament. So there are some aspects of Ferguson that the public has warmed.
Yes.
There are other aspects they're not too keen on, maybe.
Okay, well, we'll continue to track this story, Lasana. Always great talking to you and getting your analysis on what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago's football. We have another segment which will be discussing TNT's football with the Premier League set to restart coming up after the break, and we'll get some more discussion on that. But thanks, Lasana, for talking to us.
No problem.
And we'll continue to track this story. Yeah, Lasana Library there of Wired868.com, online news outfit there in Trinidad and Tobago. We go to break. When we come back. Still football, still TNT.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.